Hey, how's it going? I am gonna do something that was more like what I started off doing my little channel for in the first place, and that was to record some things that I have just taken note of. So I just need to get this out of the way. This is opinion commentary, and it's for your entertainment. Probably not something kids would be into, so not for kids. Um, This channel's not monetized, but I want to pay props to what I have playing in the background, and it is relaxingwhitenoise.com, and it's their Rain, Thunder, and Ocean Sounds from 1997, or 2017, from 2017, okay, is that clear? Okay, so I just, well, I mean, in terms of the United States, I would say it's been an emotional roller coaster. Whether you pay attention to the details of the politics and the vox populi going off on each other from, you know, dual ends of a social arena, whatever, it's just been kind of, like angry and all kinds of buried little biases belches are popping out of people, and they're acting on them in ways that apparently like people calling police on black families for doing stuff in the park that they've been doing for probably longer than the woman's been alive in the same park, but all of a sudden in her mind it's illegal and they shouldn't have fire, and so not barbecue, and just it's weird, like just whatever they're like. I don't take a liking to them doing that, and it's always bothered me is what it feels like when it happens. When I'm looking at it, it looks like these people have been sitting on some things for a long time, and that's totally human. We all do it, I think. Don't Very few of us say what's on our mind right then and there with no filters and no fluffing it up and toning it down or dumbing it down. People, sometimes they just say it, and sometimes I'm that way. It's usually not intending to be like intense or too blunt or whatever, but it almost never goes over well. I haven't done it in a while. I've been trying to curb that for my own well-being and everyone else's. And speaking of that, you know, the whole like sublimated anger and offenses that people have, and like the microaggressions are getting very macro, put it that way. And it's not just that, I mean it kind of is, in some way or other. It's some sort of discrimination against people that are already like on the sub end of the caste scale, and in these times it's very defined. And there's stuff like that. There's politics stuff. There's things happening overseas that we may or may not have involvement with, but we have possibly relatives or colleagues or some sort of ties to these places like Beirut or Belarus, which are all kind of in the same boat as us here, where the population is like, God, we are so sick and tired of being dumped on, and there's just like a little clump of people at sort of the top of the pyramid, and they're doing better than everybody else, and they don't want to let go of anything, and they cheat, and they're like rumors, long, long told rumors about certain things are coming to light about financial dealings of wealthy people, and ways they get ahead by, stuffing some money in one person's back pocket and spreading the wealth that way. But that's kind of lateral. Like, there's no trickle down, and that's how you get your upper wealthy classes so remote from everybody that, can't financially even come near being in the same class. I mean, just as a human being with these people, if you don't have enough money, it seems like, it feels like, it appears that you are just not as much of a human being. And it's, highly like early America federal paper stuff where people are 5/6 or 5/10 of another actual air quote person. Yeah. But the thing is, there's a lot of sad things happening to people with their health, or, they're dying because of the situation with the illness. But I swear, it's like we have gotten so inured to, like having a general, national medium wage, or whatever, lower minimum wage be like barely moving in almost 40 years, while rich people just keep getting richer, and more things that probably like our grandparents, or maybe some of us, our great grandparents now, were able to count on and expect in life, are just not there. Like, people don't really have pensions anymore. They can't count on them. Even if they do, I don't know, like 401ks or whatever kind of investment strategy, like that can go really wrong. And sometimes what goes wrong is people going wrong and just like pilfering from these accounts and cleaning them out and declaring them excuse me, like dismissible funds, when they're the result of someone's work for like a portion of their lives. They kind of paid into that pension themselves, so it's like it's not anyone else's to take. But legal reasons come up, financial reasons come up. Like, it's like eminent domain. They find some reason to shut you up and just take it from you. Ask the original inhabitants of this country in their various places where they got stuck unless they decide not to stay home. And this is something I've said many times, but I will lay that all squarely at the foot of capitalism, because, like it or not, whatever its good qualities, they're so being overpowered by everyone's lack of inhibitions to just go all full on with their worst impulses. It's become like, and for people that have money, you can't play if you can't pay in this game, this casino, that, for those of us who are not participating in that, they're like doing things with our life that, regardless of what we want, no matter, I'm not going to say no matter, but at times, unless there's a whole big group of you screaming and yelling and making a big deal, they will just continue to, hair by hair, remove rights from you. Voting, housing, government has just become almost impenetrable if you're not, unless you have wealth or you're backed by wealth. And that's, for the people voting, the little people, that's now being manipulated and taken away from you, as if, the same people that have told you for years, you want to change things, vote, be the change, be the change. Well, then you're doing the stuff and they're like, oh, wait, we don't want you to do that change. We want you to change away from this thing this way. And so they just take away your choice. That takes some kind of power and some nerve, like in the so-called democratic capital of the world. Which, by the way, we're not the first democracy in the world. I don't know why. Enough said about that. That's the thing, though. But it's getting really dicey, you know. Um, but the thing about it is, we get so stuck in the distractions and whatever your and vices to sort of get away from like real life. If you have to still be going out there and working for people that don't want to pay you, don't want to give you insurance, make insurance extremely exorbitant. It's kind of like, personally, watching the news and they talk about insurance being linked to your jobs. I have had in the years from being 13 to about 36, I think I had a job once or maybe twice where it included insurance in it. And at the time I was young and healthy and I did I did have sort of a car accident when I was a messenger, but that ended up working out very positively and very quickly, just because the people involved were nice people and they didn't even know what a bike messenger was at the time, and they fell over themselves, tripped over their own feet to make sure that they took me to the hospital. And made sure my bill was paid like then and there, and made sure I got like a settlement from their insurance company that day. And it was like, wow, that never happens. They were really, it was a good day. It was a bad day and a good day, and that was not a job where I had medical insurance attached. So on the news they talk about they talk about it like people all have jobs where medical is included, and it's like the middle class gets talked about a lot. Gotta do this for the middle class, gotta save the middle class, the country, the middle class. But it's like, who are those people? It seems like for most of my adult life now, the middle class has become harder and harder for me to discern. And for the definition that I think, the loose sort of characterization you see on news shows and even depictions in fiction, it's very like, I mean, kind of unreal, kind of like watching a fictional show, because I'm like, who are these people that have these resources and can do all these things with their lives? But there's a lot of considerations, I mean, maybe some people are the right color to get places to work and live and be paid well. If anyone thinks that after all these years of people trying to tell other people that this is happening, that this is a thing, and that there's this separation between certain members of society, and that includes treatment in all kinds of ways, as far as, well, I mean, look at the history of Donald Trump, our president. He is, and his family are notorious, he and his father, for being sued by the Nixon administration for not wanting to let like black people rent at their buildings. And it was like, the law was you had to do it, and they just tried everything. They weren't the only ones, and that's the thing. It was real, it's a thing, it's on record, and they weren't the only ones, and there was lots of them, and that's on lots of records all over this country. But people still like to act like, oh, those people are just lazy and whining and blah blah blah. It's like, really? Like, maybe somebody else is not telling the truth in this equation, because you get enough people saying the same thing for centuries. I mean, come on. You gotta, and also it's not just people saying stuff, there's film, there's like the last few black people that got murdered by police on camera, and that's somehow okay. Like, George Floyd died because, well, we never even found out if they found out if the $20 was genuine or not. So He essentially got killed for being suspected of passing fake money. Can the courts deal with that and not the executioner cop on the street anymore, please? I think, like, if people are starting to see it now, people are starting to hear it. They're resisting, but. And it's bad that people have to die. It's bad that people are being neglected in the ways I was talking about, like with financial stuff and with this new health thing. It's all like making it really hard for a certain group of people, and you don't have to be a genius to know that you don't like a certain type of people, and you have a bunch of people that can tell you lots of ways that you can make it really difficult for those people, and even possibly make less of those people. And some people will be lost because of this. I don't think it's going to be like a forever thing. I hope that this country really is different. I hope that, is enough stuff blowing up for people to look up and pay attention and say, hey, we got to do something about this? But a lot of people are. I'm hoping that it's possible that there are enough people that are of that set of mind, and are doing positive things. And I know that that's the case. There are also lots of examples of positive, good things happening, and that's the other thing I wanted to say. It's like, I don't remember the quote. I recall it was some Tea Party person, Federalist Papers, conservative, whatever, institutional paperwork lover. But they made some quote. I think it's been attributed to Thomas Jefferson. Something about revolution and being trees and needing to drink blood. I think it essentially means no pain, no gain. If there's no struggle, there's no reward. So, we have centuries of cycles worth of history to look at this stuff happening over and over and over and over, and things get more modern, and we get more technology, and the things that are bad for people that have it bad are better than they were for people that had it bad 100 years ago. But at some point we have to understand that it's not just struggling, it's also it takes a lot for us to get shaken out of our set, our ruts. And when we do, like, all kinds of stuff, like walking through a stream, your footprints, if they get your footprints, if your feet get sucked into the little silty mud, it creates a disturbance when you lift your foot out, when you go to free your foot and shake it off in the water and keep walking. You don't even think about it, you just instinctively do it, and that's what we're doing. We're going along over however amount of time you want to measure it, and we're walking through this stream, and the silt, we're starting to see it all. We're starting to hear it all. We're all processing it. We're all processing each other's crap. Like every Karen incident, good example. That's an eruption of macroaggressions right there, those incidents. And I thank goodness that, they usually end up with everybody alive at the end, and that's a good thing. And so it's rough, and it's emotionally hard, and it's draining. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Oh, and I also want to give props to Chris Evans, because he started this organization for people on both sides of the aisle, so to speak, to speak their minds outside of the confines and the pressures and the whatever is like slanting their words. A Starting Point, I think it's called. And he just gets them together. I don't think that he's actually it's an online thing, I believe, that you can look up. But he gets the participants together to engage, and just Probably outside of the constraints of the capital, wherever the capital may be. You know, there's a lot of capitals in this country. I'm sure he's talking to all kinds of people everywhere. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard him saying. And I'm talking about Chris Evans, Captain America, Knives Out guy. So just to be clear, and I think it's a good thing because yeah, there's a lot of blaming and you know shaming and argy bargy, as the Australians say, happening just amongst the general public, and that's something that we all got to go through too. And the stuff that happens at the protests and the counter protests and the violence and you know everything like that's what's shaking the silt up under our feet and forcing us to pay attention. And it's like erupting not just here in our big old country in multiple places, but in other countries. And you know, the two I mentioned were Beirut and come on, little brain, Belarus. Having you know basically the public rising up against government corruption. So that's another epidemic, isn't it? A pandemic. And I'm sure there's lots and lots of other places, and they'll come my way, or I'll go looking for them. But I often have, especially lately, I'm not going to look for much. You know, I'm looking at lots of cute animal videos and you know lots of like just fiction junk on TV that has nothing to do with anything. Of course, my mind always is dragging some sort of comparison to the now life that I'm living on this here side of the screen to what I'm looking at on that side of the screen. Like a little hamster in a little maze. Just, or, you know, mouse on the wheel, doing the same thing over and over. But there, I do find, like, other stuff that's, or, like, even watching, you know, Family Guy and American Dad and the Cleveland Show, it makes me laugh and just makes me get out of my head, forget what I'm thinking. And I go outside, too, and stuff, but, oh, God, they do like a monthly packet of information for the complex I live in. It's like, I don't know, recipes and information about the building. And so apparently, well, this time it came with a whole bunch of COVID information, which, oh my God, if you people don't know this stuff, what rock has your head been under? But anyway, it was a lot of instructions, and I know that maybe people just weren't paying attention because I live in a small town in my state, and I would see few people with masks unless you're at the hospital, you know, unless you're at some sort of place where there's old and infirm people. I wear a mask because I have a somewhat compromised immune system, so I have to be. I know that was gross. Sorry. But I am a little more conscientious, but not all the time. But also, I live alone. I don't have a lot of visitors. In fact, I have very few visitors to none. So, you know, I run around in here without my mask on. But I have to wash a lot my hands because I have an animal, and I have to pick up after him and clean after him. I have to clean after myself, and you know. But I noticed that people were just interacting as if it wasn't a thing the few times I've been out where I've been able to observe my neighbors. So anyway, in the little packet with all of the extra new COVID instructions was the information that someone here at my complex had caught it. So I have a caregiver that comes and helps me, and she said that there had been a couple of cases at the hospital. I had heard nothing about it, but I don't watch like local news, because it's unfortunately it's Sinclair here. It has been for a long time before the big takeover of uh, local networks in the U.S. So anyway, yeah, I don't watch the local news that much, but I do have an online local to my state uh, deal, and I go there a lot. But I don't hear much about my little area very often at all. So yeah, someone here got it. Not surprised. No one was really observing the precautions. I mean, I would go out there and forget my mask sometimes too, but I go out there to go sit by myself and meditate and not talk to anybody and have my headphones on, and you know, I'm conscious of where my cat is because he comes out with me, and sometimes I forget my mask, but if I see someone come in, I get on in my house because I don't want to give whatever I got to anybody if I got something, and vice versa. Um, and that's separating us too, but that's not new. If you look back at the 1918 flu, oh, excuse me, there was this same like anti-mask strangeness then too. So there's already always been some gaggle of contrarians in this country. Anyway, I don't know if I'm really making my point here. I know I'm wandering kind of a bit. Oh, one last point. Maybe I can make this make some sense, because it was what I really should have started with. But I was thinking that over the years that I've been watching MSNBC, it's gone through like a few different owners, and around the time that Keith Olbermann left, under whatever the circumstances were, it was really becoming in the world. It was like when they were trying to get Obamacare enacted and signed up and everything, and passed in all the legislative houses, and there was a big campaign against it, which is still, as we all know who pay attention to these things, is going on, and it just never ends. It's like, don't let those people have insurance for their health, for God's sake, because we need to. I don't know what they need. It seems commerce based. It seems money based, and that's that capitalism, and it's just become this carnivorous monster. I don't like it. I want to go back to barter. I'm serious. I am completely serious. It has made us like homicidal, literally, and there's always been, forever that anybody can remember, a level of some people are greater than in some way than some other people, and it's usually a few, and somehow they get this odd skew where there's a few people that are doing really well and everybody else is busting their ass to make that happen for them people, and you also worship them, and it's like there have been little bubbles up of us realizing, wait a minute, that dynamic is that dynamic is backwards. We should be getting treated better. We're doing all the work. Like, they can have some whatever, but you don't have to treat us like dirt. You can let us have, common decencies. So yeah, MSNBC. Oh, I really digressed away on that. It used to be one thing. It did used to be more left-leaning, or at least, like, not... somehow, even though there's a market for more lefter people, even lefter than progressives, let's say, but even for anyone that's a centrist or moderate, Democrat, like whatever you are in the spectrum, there are more places, it seemed to me, that are like more right leaning, even if they're like a CNN. a lot of times it still seemed to lean. Well, now it's kind of like MSNBC and CNN are both kind of the same way. They got some, like liberal people, neoliberal, liberal, whatever, and conservative people. But the conservatives are now the Republicans that just left the party of Trump. Uh, and they may call themselves something else, but most of them are still just Republicans. And I was upset when Keith Olbermann left, but it really took a turn after that. It seemed like it was trying. It just is like, for some reason there's a bigger appetite for right leaning, unkind, just sort of like, if not racist, then classist, to the point of virulence in their programming. And it's like that appetite somehow became all in. I guess there is a silent majority of people not represented in polls or voting or something that are like into this whole like, let's blame these other people that also have nothing and make them the demon and put them through all kinds of hell, and never forgive them ever for anything. Like, that's one thing I don't understand about like these like groups of white people that are hate groups, basically, like your KKK or your skinheads or whatever it is, where they hate like black people and brown people, and then they don't like gay people, and they don't like drag people and drag, and they don't like trans, and it's like they always got something wrong with somebody. But what exactly is the problem with black people again? Because like, what do we do to you? Because we've been like under the thumb of low income and low earning and low quality of life for so many years. It's like, okay, so what exactly can we get to the bottom of it? Because I know I haven't even hardly been affected by it personally, but I'm exhausted. It's just, everything that people say about being followed, being looked at, and being accused, and people think things about you and they have never spoken a word with you because they just looked at you and they think you're something. They think certain things. It's exhausting. You just never know. You never know what you're gonna get. Your life is like a box of chocolates, and you're the chocolate bites out of it. Okay. So, MSNBC, now they're bringing in more Republicans, former Bush people, former Romney people, just all kinds of little sort of Republican dander that took off, that fell away with the advent of Mr. Trump. And the thing about it is there's still like Ali Velshi, there's still Chris Hayes, there's still Rachel Maddow, and there's other people on there that are more to my liking and more open to progressive ideas, like Bernie style progressive, and like Green New Deal progressive, and yes, UBI progressive, and everything is changing, folks. So, I mean, everybody's not going to be able to go back to what they've been doing before, no matter how many times they open up the cities and push kids out the door to go to school. It's like, you can't not figure out the changes first, and you can't just send people out and expect it to be like it was, because it's not. It's not going to be, and we still don't even know what it's going to be. But, I mean, we're all working through something, I got my own stuff, my own personal me, and that's even aside from what I'm talking about. So I got a lot going on that I'm trying to keep under control. We're trying to manage, And all I can say is I don't think we're going to get any progress without going through all of this stuff. And so I think, need to be more conscious of and discern more clearly what it is we're all actually dealing with. You know, like we have things, forces above and outside of us that are affecting things that, you know, in many cases we're not going to be able to do a dang thing about until November 3rd, and then however long it takes, you know, but it's not going to take years, it's not even going to take months and months and months. Like, there is no way. There's a lot of us that want the status quo to change on all sides, you know, such as there are sides. And it's just going to be a slow process. It's going to be chunky. It's going to feel bad. It's going to make us feel bad. But, you know, I have a unique situation where I can just turn off everything when I need to, including my brain, and just go to sleep, you know, or meditate for hours, or, you know, whatever it is, I can turn off. We maybe can't all do that, you know. We may have other people around, people that need to be tended to, young or old. You know, everyone has different stuff going on, but at some point, I think we all get to that. It's like, I cannot take it anymore. I surrender. I give up. And that's when, that's your opening. That's your opening to, yeah, surrender. Let all of that crap go. Even just for, you know, 15 seconds, you know. You can let go of it. You can stop thinking about it. You can stop being upset by it, you know, for however brief a period. And you will find, at least I have, this is my personal experience, but I recommend it because I'd heard because I watch a lot of spiritual stuff that, you know, I'm also supposed to searching for answers myself. And a lot of it is let all of this stuff go. Just like, quit thinking about it, you know. And that's what I mean by just turn off. So tune off, turn on, turn on, tune out, turn off. But just really, like, yeah, surrender. Just like bask in that for a minute, you know. Like, oh my God, the world didn't end because I stopped worrying about everything. You know. Go look for something silly, fun, absorbing, that you enjoy, that doesn't involve this crap. And just remember, we're all going through something. We're all at different levels of how we want this all to go. So I want it to go really fast. I can foresee a world where we don't have all of this argy-bargy that we have right now, all encompassing in this country and other countries too, but I can only pay attention to so many things, you know. I'm not a computer, or maybe I am, but I'm an okay computer. Sorry about that. That is copyright protected. I didn't do anything. I'm not making any money. That's the other thing I forgot to say. I am not monetized. So, I'm just talking. But yeah, that's basically the gist of what I wanted to say. We gotta go through this crappy crap, and it is crappy, but, you know, somebody's always, it's not only that somebody's always got it better than us, you know, that can't always be our focus, because that's kind of defeating after a while. But what gives me perspective is, I do have what I do have, and I shouldn't complain about it. I have done, and I need to stop, because I got it pretty darn good for the time being. And I'm grateful for that. And there's always somebody that's got it worse off than me, and so, you know, that just, you know, makes me kind of dry up, like I just did. Like, I can't really complain, because I know damn well there's people worse off than me. I could be one of those people any day. So, yeah. But that's just my little perspective. Yeah. Don't give up. It's going to be okay. We can do it. Thank you and good night.